In today's video, we dig into some retro cool Sisters of Battle Codices from 1997, 2003, and 2011, revealing the good, the evil, and the WTF. Well, hi folks, it's Lee from SkirmishWargames.com. Welcome to the channel. If the whispers in the warp are to be believed, we should be seeing a new Warhammer 40,000 Sisters of Battle Codex and a plethora of new Sisters of Battle miniatures coming out before the end of 2019. With that in mind, we thought it'd be fun to take a historical look at the previous official Sisters of Battle Codices from 1997, 2003, and 2011. We will not, however, be looking at the digital-only 6th edition Codex published in 2013, or the Beta Codex for 8th edition published in Chapter Approved 2018, simply because we don't have copies of those. And it goes without saying that all the materials under discussion today are copyrighted by Games Workshop, and we're looking at them for the purposes of historical review. Let's start at the beginning with the original Codex Sisters of Battle, published in 1997 for Warhammer 40k 2nd edition. The vibrant cover art was created by legendary Warhammer illustrator John Blanche. It's definitely iconic, but I'm going to take a wild guess that the next Sisters of Battle Codex is going to dial back the faith-based genocide theme just a little bit. So the first quarter of the Codex covers the formation and evolution of the Adeptus Ministorum, otherwise known as the Ecclesiarchy, the official religion of the Imperium, which is dedicated to the worship of the Emperor and the advancement and enforcement of the Imperial Creed. Formed after the Horus Heresy, the Adeptus Ministorum was rocked by wars of faith, the Age of Apostasy, and the cheerfully named Reign of Blood led by High Lord Vandire, who ironically was instrumental in elevating a small cult of militant female worshippers known as the Daughters of the Emperor to the status of official ecclesiarchal bodyguards. However, these Daughters of the Emperor would eventually turn on Vandire, ending his reign of blood. During the Reformation, under new ecclesiarch Sebastian Thor, the High Lords of Terra issued a decree passive, which forbade the Adeptus Ministorum from controlling any men under arms. Because of the wording of this decree, Sebastian Thor kept one fighting force that he was allowed, the Daughters of the Emperor, who were subsequently renamed the Adepta Sororitas. Here are uniform color schemes for the different orders of the Sisters of Battle. These are meant to reflect the original garments worn by the Daughters of the Emperor. If you wanted to field a Sisters of Battle army back in 1997, your troop choices were fairly limited. Basically, you had Battle Sisters, Seraphim, the Canoness and her bodyguard, Immolator tanks, and Rhinos. Plus some male clergy members, special characters, and the rabble from the Fraterus militia, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Here's a map identifying some of the more notable planets in the Imperium, and a photo spread illustrating the vast number of different models available for your 1997 Sisters of Battle army. And here's a page on the Imperial Priesthood for those who want to add preachers and confessors and religious militia to their Sisters of Battle forces. This page is kind of neat. It talks about how to convert your own ecclesiarchy characters using various GW models. For instance, that dude on the left there is a Chaos Sorcerer with a Bretonnian head, a Morgan Le Fay Grail arm, and a Chaos Plasma pistol. Next, we get quite a bit more information on the background of the Ecclesiarchy and the Imperial Creed. There are different sects that interpret the Creed a little bit differently, like the Redemptionists, the Imperialists, the Brethren of Light. Whatever their differences, they all despise the heretics, which can be anything from mutants to chaos followers to gene-stealer cults to people who don't believe the Emperor is divine or don't want to put money in the collection plate. Next, we get special rules for holy relics available to the Sisters of Battle and their entourage, as well as sacred rites. And here's why it's not a good idea to keep your troops tightly packed when facing an Immolator tank. Now we get to the Sisters of Battle army list, which says right at the beginning, unlike other army lists, such as the Ultramarines or the Orcs, the Adeptus Ministorum army list is mainly intended to provide a source of allies for Imperial Guard, Space Marine, and other Imperial agent armies. The Adeptus Ministorum can be used as a complete army in its own right, but you will find it lacks certain elements such as support and heavy weapons. While it is possible to fight a straight battle with this army, it's far better suited for use in campaigns and special scenarios. Okay, here's a look at some of the regular Sisters of Battle characters like the Canoness, the Veteran Superior, the Missionary, the Confessor, and then the Preacher. Definitely sensing a theme here. As we mentioned earlier, the actual troop choices are pretty limited. You have a Battle Sister Squad, Seraphim Squad, the Rhino, the Adepta Sororitas Immolator, and then up top there, the Futurus Militia Band, which is basically a religiously motivated mob. And finally, the Sisters of Battle have some very devout-sounding special characters like Saint Praxedes of Ophelia 7, Helena the Virtuous, Prioress of the Covenant Sanctorum, URIAH Jacobus, Protector of the Faith, Redemptor Kirinov, and finally, Cardinal Armandus Hellfire. Okay, so that is Codex Sisters of Battle from 1997. Now we jump forward about 6 years, and things start to get a little bit freaky-deaky. We're talking, of course, about the Not for the Squeamish Codex Witch Hunters, published in 2003 for Warhammer 40k 3rd edition. In this codex, the Sisters of Battle are still the defenders of the ecclesiarchy, but they're also the chamber militant of the Ordo Hereticus, a branch of the Inquisition charged with hunting down witches, heretics, and mutants. Fun fact, the Inquisition at this time also included the Ordo Malleus, the demon hunters, who got their own codex, and the Ordo Xenos, the alien hunters, who did not. So how exactly did the Sisters of Battle become muscle for the Inquisition? Well, in the codex it says that during the height of the Reformation, the Ordo Hereticus was formed, and the Sisterhood and the Witch Hunters formalized their relationship in a shadowy conclave referred to as the Convocation of Nephilim. The convocation stated that the Orders Militant of the Adepta Sororitas would place themselves at the disposal of the Ordo Hereticus whenever called to do so by a duly appointed Inquisitor, forming the Chamber Militant of the Witch Hunters. So apparently GW decided to go full grimdark in this codex. There's one of the new penitent engines that appears for the first time in Codex Witch Hunters. And then here's the Sisters of Battle Repentia Squad. I've seen photos of the new Repentia models that GW is coming out with maybe a little later this year, and it looks like they're dialing back the S&M vibe quite a bit, which is probably a good idea. Here are some special rules for the Sisters of Battle and battle gear of the Adepta Sororitas. There's a whole host of special weapons for Inquisitor characters and special upgrades for Witch Hunter vehicles. There really aren't that many exclusive troop choices available to the Ordo Hereticus, so they're very dependent on the Sisters of Battle, but they can also use inducted Imperial Guard units or Allied Space Marines. A Witch Hunter army is led by either an Inquisitor Lord or a Sisters of Battle heroine. Here the Sisters of Battle get some new elite troop choices, including the Arcoflagellants, the Celestian Squads, and the Sisters Repentia, who we talked about earlier. These are the original sculpts, and you see they're herded by a mistress with neural whips. We'll jump past the Temple Assassins and the transports and get right to the regular troop choices. The new addition here is Inquisitorial Stormtroopers who, because they're not part of the ecclesiarchy, wouldn't violate the prohibition on men-at-arms. In addition to the Seraphim Squads, the Sisters of Battle fast attack options now include the Dominion Squads. A Dominion Squad may have up to 4 special weapons, but must be transported in either a Rhino or an Immolator. Heavy support options for the Sisters of Battle now include the Retributor Heavy Weapons Squad, the Exorcist Missile Tank, and the Bizarre Penitent Engine Walker. The Witch Hunters also have access to an Orbital Strike. Witch Hunter adversaries are typically a rogues gallery of traitors, mutants, and apostates, but really they're ready to purge just about anybody. Like, for example, here's a list of Witch Hunter narratives. I like this one especially. Witch Hunters would fight Eldar because the entire Eldar race are deviant witches. And here a victorious Imperial Guard regiment may have been exposed to the enemy's radical philosophies. Obviously they can't be allowed to threaten the doctrinal purity of the Imperium. If your Witch Hunter army needs a legendary hero, here's the stats for Inquisitor Lord Karamazov. And here's possibly the first Codex appearance of Saint Celestine herself. So if a player had already assembled a 2nd edition Warhammer 40k Sisters of Battle army, upgrading it to a 3rd edition Witch Hunter army would be pretty simple. Simply add an Inquisitor and a retinue, maybe flesh it out with a couple of the new Sisters of Battle units, and of course you could always add a inducted Imperial Guard unit or some Space Marine allies, and you'd be all set. Okay, that's our look at Warhammer 40,000 Codex Witch Hunters from 2003, featuring the Sisters of Battle. Now we jump forward 8 years to the Warhammer 40,000 5th edition Sisters of Battle Codex, which was printed in the August and September 2011 White Dwarf magazines. The August issue retells the rich history of the Adepta Sororitas, this time without any emphasis on the Inquisition. Maybe those guys got purged. The issue also provides some very nice descriptions of the various Sisters of Battle army units. One change here is the Ecclesiarchy battle conclaves, which sort of lump the Archoflagellants, the Crusaders, and the Death Cult Assassins all together in a single unit. Other than that, and the noticeable lack of inquisitorial units that we saw in Codex Witch Hunters, the Sisters of Battle unit types have remained pretty much the same in this edition, with the exception of the return of URIAH JACOBUS, Protector of the Faith, who you might remember from the first Sisters of Battle Codex. And since one issue of White Dwarf can only hold so much Sisters of Battle goodness, they printed the Codex Army List and the Sisterhood vs. Tyranids Battle Report in the September 2011 issue of White Dwarf. No big surprises here, except as we mentioned before, the lack of inquisitorial units, and the Inquisitors must have taken the radio with them because the Sisters no longer have orbital bombardment capabilities. And if you prefer an Exorcist tank that doesn't look like a cathedral pipe organ, here's another option from Forge World. And finally, the issue provides a very nicely illustrated battle report featuring the Sisterhood versus the Tyranids. The Sisters of Battle were fortunately able to squeak out a minor victory versus the Hive Mind, so once again, the Emperor prevails. Well, folks, that's our look at some vintage Sisters of Battle codices from decades past. If you like the things we do here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give this video a big thumbs up, and visit us online at our website, skirmishwargames.com.